Every year, millions of people make the same promise. This is the year I'll become disciplined. For a few days, they wake up early. They exercise. They work harder. They tell themselves that this time will be different. Then something changes. The alarm rings a little earlier than expected. The weather turns cold. Work becomes stressful. Life gets busy. And without realizing it, they slowly return to the same habits they swore they would leave behind. Now ask yourself this. Why did ancient warriors endure freezing winters, endless marches, brutal training, and impossible battles, while so many people today struggle to stay disciplined for just 1 week? It wasn't because they were born stronger. It wasn't because they never felt tired. And it certainly wasn't because they were always motivated. They followed a formula, a timeless system that transformed ordinary men into warriors whose names are still remembered thousands of years later. Most people spend their lives chasing motivation. Warriors chase something much more powerful. Discipline. Not as a feeling, not as a temporary burst of energy, but as a way of life. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why discipline has almost nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with how you train your mind. More importantly, you'll discover the 6-part discipline formula used by warriors throughout history, a formula that can completely change the way you approach your own life. But before we get there, imagine this. A cold morning nearly 2,000 years ago. The sun hasn't risen. The air bites against the skin. A young Spartan boy stands barefoot on rough ground. His muscles ache from yesterday's training. His stomach is empty. Every part of his body wants to rest. No one would blame him if he quit. No one would even know. Yet without speaking a single word, he stands up, picks up his shield, and begins training once again. That single decision, repeated every day for years, created one of history's most feared warriors. Here's what most people never realize. The greatest battle he fought wasn't against an enemy army. It was against himself. That battle still exists today. Only now, it doesn't take place on a battlefield. It happens when your alarm rings. It happens when your phone distracts you from your work. It happens when your mind whispers, "Skip today, start tomorrow." Every person hears that voice. The difference is that warriors never allowed it to become their commander. And that brings us to the first formula. Formula 1. Kill the inner negotiator. Your brain has one primary job: to keep you safe. For thousands of years, avoiding unnecessary effort helped humans survive. That's why your brain naturally seeks comfort. It wants to conserve energy. So every morning, it begins negotiating. 5 more minutes. You'll work better later. You've already worked hard enough. The excuses sound logical. That's what makes them dangerous. Ancient warriors understood something long before modern psychology explained it. Every negotiation weakens discipline. Imagine standing in the ranks of a Roman legion. The commander raises his sword and shouts, "Advance." Can you imagine one soldier responding, "Give me a minute. I'm not feeling motivated today"? Of course not. Because hesitation in battle could cost lives. Today, hesitation costs something different. It costs opportunities. It costs confidence. It costs years of your life. Every time you break a promise to yourself, your mind quietly learns something. My word doesn't matter. Think about that. If someone lied to you every day, would you trust them? Then why should your own mind trust you when you constantly ignore your own commitments? Warriors removed unnecessary decisions. Training wasn't optional. Discipline wasn't optional. Growth wasn't optional. It became part of their identity. So tomorrow morning, don't ask yourself, "Do I feel like doing this?" Ask yourself, "What does a disciplined warrior do next?" Then move immediately, because action is faster than doubt, and speed kills hesitation. Remember the first formula. Kill the inner negotiator. Because the longer you argue with yourself, the stronger your excuses become. Now here's something fascinating. Even if you stop negotiating, even if you take action, there's still another problem. Most people quit the moment life becomes uncomfortable. Warriors did the exact opposite. Which brings us to the second formula. Formula 2. Make discomfort your ally. Modern life is built around convenience. Food arrives at your door. Entertainment never ends. Comfort is available every hour of the day. Yet people have become more distracted, more anxious, and less disciplined than ever before. Why? Because comfort slowly weakens your ability to handle difficulty. Now picture another scene. A young samurai stands alone beneath freezing rain. Hour after hour, he repeats the same sword strike. Again, and again, and again. His hands are blistered. His shoulders burn. His legs tremble with exhaustion. No one is watching. No audience. No applause. So why doesn't he stop? Because he understands something that many people today have forgotten. The purpose of training isn't simply to defeat an enemy. It's to defeat the version of yourself that wants to quit. The Spartans believed hardship revealed character. Roman soldiers marched for miles carrying equipment heavier than many people lift in the gym today. Vikings rode through violent seas for days without knowing if they would survive. None of them loved suffering. They loved what suffering produced: strength, patience, resilience. Modern science now confirms what these warriors discovered centuries ago. Confidence isn't created by positive thinking. Confidence is created by evidence. Every difficult workout becomes evidence. Every early morning becomes evidence. Every promise you keep becomes evidence. Every challenge you overcome tells your brain, I can do hard things. That's how real confidence is built. Not through motivation, through proof. Think of a sword. Steel doesn't become stronger by avoiding fire. It becomes stronger because it survives the fire. The same is true for you. Every challenge you avoid teaches your mind, I'm weak. Every challenge you face teaches your mind, I'm stronger than I thought. That's why warriors searched for discomfort, because they knew comfort creates fragile people, while hardship creates unbreakable ones. So remember the second formula. Make discomfort your ally. Stop running from difficult things. Start seeing them as opportunities to become someone stronger. Because the obstacle standing in your way today may become the reason you're unstoppable tomorrow. But even discomfort isn't enough. You can wake up early for a week. You can train hard for a month. You can push yourself through pain and still return to your old habits. So what separated legendary warriors from everyone else? It wasn't what they did. It was who they believed they were. And that single shift changes everything. What if I told you that the greatest transformation in your life doesn't begin with your habits? It begins with your identity. Most people believe they'll become disciplined after they achieve success. Warriors believe the exact opposite. They became disciplined first, and success followed. That brings us to the third formula. Formula 3. Become the warrior before you win. Picture a young Spartan standing in formation for the very first time. He hasn't fought in battle. He hasn't earned glory. He hasn't proven himself to anyone. Yet when he looks around, he doesn't see boys pretending to be warriors. He sees warriors in training. From that moment on, every decision becomes simple. He doesn't ask, should I train today? He asks, what does a Spartan do? And then he does it, without hesitation. That's the power of identity. Today, many people tell themselves, I'm lazy. I'm always inconsistent. I never finish what I start. The problem isn't that these statements are true. The problem is that your brain starts acting as if they are. Your identity becomes the blueprint for your behavior. If you believe you're someone who always quits, your mind will quietly look for opportunities to prove that belief correct. But the moment you change the story, everything begins to change. Instead of saying, I'm trying to become disciplined, say, I am becoming the kind of person who always keeps his word. Then prove it, not with a grand gesture, with one action, one workout, one page read, one promise kept, one excuse ignored. Every disciplined action becomes another piece of evidence supporting your new identity. Warriors didn't wait until they felt like warriors. They acted like warriors until discipline became part of who they were. Remember the third formula. Become the warrior before you win. Because identity always comes before destiny. But identity alone isn't enough. A warrior's reputation wasn't built in one heroic battle. It was built through thousands of victories no one ever witnessed. Which brings us to the fourth formula. Formula 4. Win the invisible battles. History celebrates dramatic moments. The final charge, the victorious battle, the legendary speech. But warriors understood that greatness is built in ordinary moments. Imagine a Roman training field just before sunrise. The ground is covered in mist. Hundreds of soldiers stand before wooden practice posts. No cheering crowds. No enemies. No glory. Only repetition. One strike. Again. One block. Again. One step forward. Again. Thousands of repetitions. Every day. For years. By the time they entered a real battlefield, they didn't need to think. Their discipline had become instinct. That's how greatness is built. Not in one extraordinary day, but through thousands of ordinary ones. Today, reading 10 pages may not seem significant. Neither does one healthy meal. one focused hour, one early morning. But stack those small victories every single day, and 6 months from now, you'll become someone your past self would hardly recognize. People will admire your results. What they won't see are the invisible battles you fought every single day. Remember this. Big victories are simply small victories repeated long enough. Never underestimate the power of consistency. Remember the fourth formula. Win the invisible battles. Because the life you want is hidden inside the habits no one applauds. Now let me ask you something. If motivation disappeared forever, would your habits survive? Most people don't like that question. Because deep down, they know the answer. Warriors did too. That's why they never depended on motivation. Which brings us to perhaps the most powerful principle of all. Formula 5. Let routine lead when emotion fails. Feelings are temporary. Discipline is permanent. Some mornings you'll wake up full of energy. Other mornings you'll feel exhausted before your feet touch the floor. If your actions depend on your emotions, your future depends on chance. Picture a samurai waking before sunrise. Snow blankets the village. His hands are numb. His body aches. There is no battle today, no audience, no reward waiting for him. Yet he kneels, steadies his breathing, draws his sword, and begins practicing, not because he feels inspired, because his routine is stronger than his emotions. That is the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs act when they feel motivated. Professionals act because that's simply what they do. The alarm rings. They move. The weather changes. They move. Life becomes difficult. They still move. Routine removes the need to negotiate. It turns discipline into something automatic. And automatic habits are almost impossible to break. Remember the fifth formula. Let routine lead when emotion fails. Because emotions are unpredictable, systems are reliable. But there's one final principle. One principle shared by almost every successful warrior culture in history. Ignore it, and every other formula becomes harder to follow. Formula 6. Guard your environment like a fortress. No great fortress was built after the enemy arrived. Preparation always came first. The same is true for discipline. Walk into a Spartan barracks. Everything has a purpose. Walk into a Roman military camp. Everything has a place. Their surroundings reinforce discipline. Now compare that to modern life. Notifications every few minutes. Endless scrolling. Negative conversations. Constant distractions. Then people wonder why they can't focus. Your environment is shaping your behavior every single day. If you surround yourself with distraction, distraction becomes your habit. If you surround yourself with excellence, excellence becomes your standard. Don't rely on willpower alone. Make discipline easier. Silence unnecessary notifications. Keep your workspace clean. Spend time with people who challenge you to improve. Fill your mind with ideas that strengthen you instead of weakening you. The strongest warrior isn't the one who fights temptation every hour. The strongest warrior is the one who prepares so temptation has less power in the first place. Remember the sixth formula. Guard your environment like a fortress, because what surrounds you eventually shapes you. Now let's bring everything together. The warrior discipline formula is simple. Formula 1. Kill the inner negotiator. Stop arguing with yourself. Act before excuses have time to grow. Formula 2. Make discomfort your ally. Choose the harder path because that's where strength is forged. Formula 3. Become the warrior before you win. Change your identity first, and your actions will follow. Formula 4. Win the invisible battles. Master the small daily habits that nobody sees. Formula 5. Let routine lead when emotion fails. Trust your systems, not your feelings. Formula 6. Guard your environment like a fortress. Build surroundings that make discipline your default. These 6 principles turned ordinary men into Spartans, into samurai, into Roman legionaries, into warriors whose names survived centuries. And they can transform your life too. Here's the truth. Every morning, 2 versions of you wake up. One seeks comfort. The other seeks growth. One whispers, "Not today." The other says, "Stand up." The battle between those 2 versions will decide far more than your morning. It will decide your future. Years from now, people will look at your life and call you lucky. They'll call you talented. They'll call you gifted. They'll never see the thousands of mornings when you chose discipline over comfort. Because that's where warriors are truly made. Not under the spotlight, but in silence. When no one is watching. When quitting would be easy. When the only person you have to defeat is yourself. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm rings, remember this. The first battle of the day has already begun. Win that battle, and you'll be one step closer to winning your life. If this video helped change the way you think about discipline, subscribe to Warrior Mindset for more videos on mental toughness, stoicism, self-mastery, and the timeless principles that build unshakable men. And before you leave, I want you to make a commitment. Comment these 4 words. I command my mind. Not for the algorithm, not for me, but as a promise to yourself. Because the greatest warriors in history didn't become legends by conquering the world first. They became legends by conquering themselves.